All right, guys. So I want to welcome you to our, gosh, what is it, week 4? Can you imagine? We're moving, we're cooking through, and I want to thank you all for joining. What we will first do is share some wins, but I thought I would draw a card and we could take, oh, this one just popped right out. And we could share, I said some wins, and then we'll do a little breathing and get started. So today we're going to be covering curiosity posts. We'll see how far we get. And we may move right into really popping the question and uh, setting a time. I think we'll be able to do that as well. Um, And all right, so let's see here. All right, so this is a good one. Acceptance is the first step to freedom. When I live my life in acceptance, it doesn't mean that I give in or that I give up. It means that I see people, places, and things for what they are. The information I have will guide my next steps. A wise person once said, when people show you who they are, believe them. Flip the switch and leave the fight and accept people, places, and things for what they are. Embrace a healthy spirit of acceptance. This is a good card. It's a good reminder, I think, to all of us, how many times in our business, in our personal lives have we you know, kind of wished we could change people, places, or things, right? We want things according to the way we see them. And sometimes we tend to fight. Like I will give you an example. I was married and my ex-husband, he's a good guy, but it wasn't working out very well. And I realized I had to take some ownership because I was wanting him to be someone different. And the only one that was really wasting energy and you know was not in acceptance was me, and I just couldn't, for whatever reason, accept him as him until I realized the pain that it was causing me. And I think sometimes we do that in business. You might be dealing with a difficult customer, you might have a tough time with a team member, and sometimes we have to just pause and take a breath and just realize that when people show you who they are, just believe them. And we don't have to label it right, wrong. It just is our perception. And oftentimes it's based on what we think is right, right? So I love that. Anybody got anything they want to add to that before we start sharing around wins? Okay, how about some wins out there? I know I got word from uh, Tanya Ray's. She's recruited 7 people. 7 people. I'm like, woo, that's awesome. So let's give it up for Tanya. She's not here, but let's give it up because she does watch the recordings. All right. Who else? Any win is a win. Let's share. Come on.
All right, I'm unmuted.
All right.
So my win is being here right now.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were supposed to be here, and I was going to message saying I can't be here because I need to be present with them. They're going back to Thailand tomorrow. But my cool win is, thank you very much, is my social media has, uh, I think there was up by 1,700 views. Yeah, just last week. Yeah. And Megan is part of that too. Thank you for liking on my posts. And one of the posts I shared the other day, I was doing a house call, and I've had 3 people reach out to me already saying, "Okay, you do house calls?" And one is not even in the state. And I said, "Well, there will be travel fees attached." And she said, "Okay, what is your rate? And let's look up what tickets are."
Oh,
So,
geez. Wow. That's exciting. Good for you, Marlene.
yeah.
And I know you've been really working hard at developing a client list and stuff. So that's amazing. I love it. All right. How about one more? Anyone else want to share a win that they feel really good about? Anyone? All right, I want to make a little suggestion, guys. You know, in our days, we have a lot going on. I mean, from being mothers to partners to wives to, other jobs, other commitments. And sometimes what I find with women, especially, is we get down on ourselves because we tend to believe that it's never enough. Does anybody relate to me? Has anybody ever felt like that? Drop a one in the comments if you've ever felt that way. It's just never enough. You find you say things like, there's never enough time in the day. I'm not through my to-do list, you know. Um, and I want to make a suggestion because sometimes in order to keep our energy in good spaces, we have to look for our wins of the day. Okay. I often will wake up and I will put an intention out there. Sometimes my intention is just to get through my to-do list. Okay. And then let's just say something comes up and I can't get through it for whatever reason. Well, the natural tendency would be like, well, I put it out there and now I didn't do that. And so I don't feel good about myself. Are you following me? But what if I knew that I gave my very best effort? I did the, now watch this. I did the best that I could with the tools and information that I had, and I choose to look at what I accomplished, not what I didn't. Are you guys with me? Okay, I want you to begin practicing these things. Okay, I also want you to begin helping your team members practice these things. Okay, how many of you have team members that can be negative Nelly or, they're just unconsciously aware where they put their focus? How many of you have that? Drop a two if you've got some team members that, sometimes you just realize that they're just not focused on the win part of it. Okay. So it starts, guys, with us. It just does. It starts with us. And I know like Megan and I work really closely together, and on occasion, we both have to kind of do this with each other. Like, well, let's look at what we did do because we can get on a jag sometimes about what we didn't accomplish or what isn't happening. So just keep in mind that at the level that all of you are and at the level that Megan and I are as far as personal development, if it's still going on right here after 25 years, it's probably going on for you guys, but your team members for sure. So help them redirect, not by telling them that what they're doing is wrong, but help them redirect by saying, let's talk about what's great and what's right and what you do feel good about. Okay, and redirecting that energy. Okay, all right, you guys. Let's see here. Let's talk a little bit about curiosity posts. I want to spend, I don't know, the next probably 15 minutes in curiosity posts, and then we're going to jump into setting the appointment without getting ghosted. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. It's really around how you pop the question and your confidence. And then we'll kind of solidify that with how I deal with the ghosting part of it. Okay, so if you want to take in your notebook, if you've got your notebook, I would just either turn over a page or use the notes page for this curiosity post because I'm going to give you guys a little bit more info than what this workbook will prompt you. Okay, so step one in creating curiosity posts is to really understand the psychology behind curiosity posts. And again, you guys, everything that you're learning here, you can reiterate this and go train your team members. I had a gal in one of our first DRAs about 2.5 years ago, or no, about 2.5 years ago, one of our very first. She would take every single training that I trained and go train her team. So keep that in mind that this is also really what your team should be doing as well. Okay. So what is a curiosity post? Well, a curiosity post, it is a marketing technique that creates an open loop. And what does that really mean? Your audience is the goal of a curiosity post is to pique your audience's interest. But when I talk about keeping an open loop, the brain, so this is the psychology, your brain wants closure. Your brain wants closure. So they're engaging because they're looking for the missing piece. Does that make sense? So you're piquing just enough interest that makes them want to know more. Now I'm going to give you three different questions that will help you um, really create good curiosity either with your business or with your products. So, and you guys have heard some of these things because we reiterate these things and kind of, recall back and do different things like this. But I want to talk first about and write this question down. What is your problem, or what problem or pain point does my audience secretly have? If not by now, you guys are really beginning to realize that great marketers understand the pain of what their audience is going through. Okay? Now, the second question that you want to ask yourself when you're creating a post is, what is the missing piece I can hint to? So it's kind of like a tease or a hint, but I'm not going to fully reveal. Okay? What is the missing piece I can hint to or tease, but I'm not going to fully reveal? And then the third thing that you might ask yourself is, what is the emotional gap between where they are now and what's possible? Okay. Now I'm going to show you what I see a lot of people doing. So I'm going to give you like just an example, a couple examples. I'm going to show you the difference because sometimes when people are writing a curiosity post, if you don't know what a good one looks like, it's hard to produce that, right? So I want you to think, I'm going to share this with you. This is an example. So you might say, join my new challenge to grow your business. Let's say that is something, okay? Join my new challenge to grow your business. Now, does that pique curiosity? Kind of, but it's not good enough. It's very vague. So a great curiosity post would be, we use this one daily system to double enrollments in 30 days. You see the difference where you're giving a little bit more details, but what are you giving there that makes someone go, I want more of that? Who can tell me? We use this one daily system to double enrollments in 30 days. What speaks to you? What makes you want to know more?
The solution of doubling.
Okay, exactly. Doubling enrollment. So they're basically saying we're doubling recruiting in 30 days. I want to know how to do that, right? But if I just say, join my new challenge to grow your business, it's not the worst thing ever, but it doesn't describe any tangible result. It doesn't really identify any kind of strategy, system, or anything, right? So that's just an example, okay? So now that you understand really kind of the psychology behind it, and that really the bottom line, a great curiosity post, the bottom line, you guys, is it keeps people wanting to know more. They're going to literally raise their hand to ask a question. That's how it will appear in your posts. Okay? All right. Now I'm going to just share the three-part framework to master the structure. So you can just write step 2 is mastering the structure. Okay. So the first thing is the hook. And this is where we start with an emotion. We surprise someone. It's a bold statement that can even be contradiction, but it stops what? The scroll, right? A great hook stops the scroll. It's kind of like, wait, what? Now, imagine if you were somebody at the top of your company or at the middle of your company, or you'd been doing network marketing for kind of a long time and you wrote something like this. I almost quit my business last year, but this one shift changed everything. Would you read on? Yeah. Kim said, yeah, of course you would. That's interesting. Wait, she almost quit? Wait, I thought she was like doing pretty good out there. Wait, what was the one shift? You see? It makes me want to read it. So that is a hook. Okay. I'm going to just give you a couple. Um, Another hook would be um, the number one problem in network marketing and how to fix it. People would want to know more. Here's another hook. You don't always see them, but let me tell you, you'd sure notice if they weren't here. And Megan, you might want to chime in and give a few other examples of great hooks, because I think what's important is when you guys hear some great hooks, um, it'll resonate more with you. Megan, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, you know what the examples Joan's giving, right? Notice the details in business grow versus double the recruiting. We're painting a vision in that hook that's causing an emotion. The hook should always draw out emotion. So
Yeah.
like one of the hooks that I did for a story, right? And then we'll get into the storytelling piece, but was my house flooded. Like sometimes you're telling a personal story and it's not so much result focused, but you're about a story and it's the hook of like what happened, right? What my house flooded. And then I related that to building, a side income and then, had a call to action for leads for that. Trying to look for my one that I went over in May. But um, another, I did a story. There's some at the Trello board that I'll showcase. If I can showcase that at the end, Joan, I think that would be helpful
Sure.
too.
Sure.
But
All right.
yeah, always focusing on like what is the specific result, or I'm sorry, what is the specific pain, and how are you drawing out emotion in that hook? Right? And we talk a little bit about that too as you get further into some of the social media systems, the copyright course, a little bit as well. But yeah.
Okay. So you guys, you probably already had in your notes, remember? Emotion, surprise, contradiction. Okay. All right. So the second part is the story. And this is where you're building even more curiosity, right? So you're starting with the hook, then you're building curiosity. And it would be like sharing a relatable experience or a struggle, right? So how are people going to relate to you? And again, what might be a struggle. Do you notice people always, I hate to say this, but really, really good marketing is a lot of it is focused around the struggle, the authenticity. Sometimes it even can be the negative stuff. That's why we talked in the beginning there about like contradictions and stuff, right? It's people just like to kind of talk a lot about problems. They're interested to know more. So it's really important that you use that emotional piece when you're storytelling. And at this point, though, you don't want to share yet the solution. You're talking about the pain point. You're talking about the problem. You're talking about the experience. Okay. So you're building the story. And it could be just something as simple as like, after months of spinning my wheels, I tried something I had avoided for years. That's an example. Okay. It might be something around physical pain, like maybe some of you guys sell a collagen or, some kind of product that helps with the physical pain. It might be something like, you know, um, my knees hurt for years, until I finally found this, or, that's just an example. Okay. So the story. And then last is your call to action, your CTA, or your offer. Now, at this point, if you're saying something, you can do a soft CTA. So some people might say drop a heart if you could relate, right? You might use a call to action with a word, so you might say something like, if you want me to show you, you know, how to take care of that problem, drop, you know, pain. No, I don't know. But you're going to use a one simple word for a CTA. It could be, want more information, drop details below. You want the exact 3 steps that I use, drop details. Okay. So it's the 3-part formula: the hook, the story, and the CTA or the offer. Now, I do have some examples that I think are kind of interesting to listen. You can listen to these. So I teach social media systems, or you could say, I show leaders how to grow faster without spending all day online. You see the difference? Okay. You could be like, and again, I don't know what all of your guys' products are, but you just see the difference how curiosity driven statements um, with sharing a solution or result makes people kind of go like, oh, wow, okay, right? I help people recruit. I teach a way to attract builders who DM you first. Okay, that would be a curiosity driven statement. Let's say you were drawing people to join your team. Join my team, blah, 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 blah. Or you could say something big drops on Monday, and it's the thing that, oops, just a second. Okay. And it's the thing we wished existed when we were stuck at the same rank. Just think about how you can describe your opportunity and your product. Okay. All right. Let's get into, well, let me ask, are there any questions before I go into the little bit of the next part around curiosity posts? Somebody had a question on here last week about how do you engage? Who was that? Was there someone here that wanted to know more about how, oh yeah, Marlene, was that tell me your question, because I think this is a good time to answer that.
So it was about engaging when I was putting posts on and they were commenting, and we talked about liking, or like not liking, but loving or caring, and then coming
Yeah.
back and commenting. And
Yeah.
then my thing was, okay, now it's actually reaching out to them.
Yeah. Or meeting them in the DMs. Yeah.
Right.
So, how many of you, I just want to by a show of hands, or you could drop a two in the comments if I can't see you, but how many of you have struggled or you want to talk through a little bit more how to go from a curiosity post into the comments? Okay, I'm seeing it. Into the comments and then get them into the DMs.
I
All right.
think first though, Joan, my whole thing is I usually go for the customer before I go for the recruiting because I'm like, do you go for recruiting them to become a affiliate before you go talk to them about the product?
So you're wondering, do you offer one or the other first?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And here's what I want to tell you guys, the answer to that. Some people are going to choose to lead with the business, right? The business is a product that you offer. But most people find it easier to lead with the product first versus the business. Most people, I shouldn't say most, let's just say over 50% for sure, probably find that leading with the product first is easier. Who knows why? Why do you think it's easier?
I can answer that. I
If they
mean,
don't
from
like the product, they're not gonna want to do the business.
If they don't like the product, they may not want to do the business. Okay, that's good. What else?
what I
Allison?
found from my experience is that, and this isn't for everyone.
Yeah.
What I found though is that a lot of people are very uncomfortable talking about money or compensation plan, and they fully don't understand what's in it for themselves, let alone how to offer it to other people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In other words, I believe what you're also saying, Allison, is that if I haven't had any real results, it's kind of hard for me to go out there and say you're going to make 500, 1,000, 4,000, $7,000 if I haven't had that. Was that fair to say?
Absolutely.
So here's what I want to share with you guys. The truth of the matter is, if we're doing a curiosity post around the business, and you've got somebody, let's say they drop, I'm just going to use a word like your call to action was drop me if you'd like to know more, like ME, right? Drop me if you'd like to know more, let's just say. And you had 3 or 4 me's. Okay, here's what I want you guys to know. That me gives you permission to talk about the business if it's a business post. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to talk about the product if they're dropping me. So it depends on how you're positioning your post. So my suggestion to you would be you got to get clear on what you really want to develop. Do you want to develop your business team building part of it? Do you want to develop just your customer base? I mean, here's the thing that, I worked with the company, Marla, you worked there too, a while back that, many people built these huge, what they call customer pods. They didn't do a lot of team build. I shouldn't say not. Some people didn't do any recruiting and team building. So you have to determine what's right for you and how you're building your business. That goes back to the goals you're setting from the very beginning, right? But if I'm building a business, a sustainable business, I'm going to assume that you're probably going to do a little of both, right? But I want to make sure that you guys know when someone drops like me and you were talking about community, and maybe you were like Megan's leaving here on a trip. Maybe you're posting pictures of your trip to Cabo and how this created a freedom in your life and blah, blah, blah. earned an all expense paid trip, let's say. And then, and you said drop, I don't know, drop trip, whatever it is. Okay. Drop beaches. And then you had a couple people drop beaches. You're not going to start talking about the product, are you? You would be asking questions based on your post and what they're raising their hand to. Do you follow where I'm going with that? So it's really important that you understand that if you're doing cold reach outs, or I don't even want to say cold, if you're just doing reach outs, they could be warm reach outs. You may have a choice to either lead with the business or lead with the product. And I will tell you from my experience, like what I'm building right now, I'm leading with the business only right now for what I'm doing. And I have gone both ways. So I'm more of a builder of my business than I am a builder of my customer base. That's that's Joan, that's me, that's how I lead. I lead more, probably 90% of the time with the business. So what ends up happening is, what do you think I attract? Do you think I attract more business builders or more customers?
Business builders.
Yeah, I attract more business builders because
Do
that's how
you, I guess I need to go back and look through some of your posts. Do you talk about the business on your post? Because I feel like you don't, but maybe you do.
well, I have not lately because I have not been promoting a business lately. But when I'm talking right now, not on my post right now, but you will see it soon. But what I want to say is when I do my reach out, like my calls, I lead with the business.
Are
Okay.
you
When
warm
I,
calling your warm market to tell them that you've made a change
for sure.
with the business? Okay.
Yeah. Right. And I guess I'll just say this to you guys too. I want you to think about this. If you were ever making a pivot or a change to something different, you would want to call people before you went public, wouldn't you? Wouldn't that make sense? Of course. It would be more like this. Hey, Marla, it's Joan. I wanted to first find out how you're doing, of course, but I called for a specific reason. I called to let you know I've made a pivot and blah, 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 right? I have no idea if this might interest you or really what you're up to. But if you're open to hearing a little bit more, let's have a chat. In fact, I wanted to make sure that I reached out to you before I went public because right now I'm positioning leaders. Like that might be a verbiage that someone would use if they were making a pivot,
Are
let's
you
say.
leaving messenger messages or you're actually physically calling them on the phone?
So I do a combination of text and voice message. And then the voice message, I get them onto a phone call,
Okay.
you know.
Thank you.
But remember now, if I'm doing a post, right? If I'm doing a post, then I'm driving them from the post and making some comments in the post and then into the DMs. Okay. But my method for me, you guys, just so you know, I always set an appointment and get someone on the phone. Always. I mean, I know not everybody does that, but that's just the way I train. And I've built multi-million-dollar teams that way. I'm not going to change it. It works for me. And I am much more, I think that I relate much better to people when I can actually physically talk to them. And even more if I could see them too. Like let's say Kim S and I were just her and I were just on this Zoom right here. We would have a better conversation than if I just texted her. I mean, for sure. But see, some people think they don't have enough time for that and blah, 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 blah. And so they're sending links and there's ways to do it, but I just don't, I don't train that because the majority of network marketers are not, you know, experienced. They haven't done a lot of that. And their chances of drawing someone to them without an actual conversation are slim. You know, they either give way too much information and throw up on people, or what? Or there's not enough information. They leave the chat for 24 hours. It's like, oh my God. They stop the momentum. There's all kinds of things. All right. So let's talk just real quick. So the post will drive your conversation. So will your intentions of building the business. And you're going to do a combination of both all the time, right? I know a gal that, started a business about 4 years ago. She was a mid-level leader, and her goal was 50 reach outs a day, no matter what. And I remember I said to her, well, now tell me, this is like 4 years ago. I said, now, where are you getting all your leads? She goes, anywhere. I go, what do you mean? She goes, yeah, well, if my post yields me 10 leads a day, then I have 40 more to get. I go, where do you go? Facebook group, my cell phone, my profile, my Instagram, and she starts talking about money. That's all she wants to talk about. Money, money, money. So guess what? She is a full team today, a big team with people that want to make money. It's just her way of doing it, right? And the sheer numbers of being in front of that many people will eventually lead to people raising their hand, won't it? And she didn't give up. Every single day, 50 for like 2 years. She has almost 500,000 followers, just so you guys know. I'm like, wow. All right. Okay. So this is going to lead me right in. And at any point, you guys can certainly ask questions. So once somebody has dropped, let's say, the me and given me permission, I make a comment in the post. The reason why we're making the comments in the post is to boost the algorithm and to show what? To show that we're having interaction. We're being social. Remember, Facebook, I'm going to speak to Facebook especially, it's a social platform. So if you go to my profile or something and you see when I'm, writing a post about my family or something personal, if I've engaged properly, I'm going to get a number of likes, loves, and hearts and comments. Okay. If I didn't engage properly, like this morning, I didn't engage properly, and so my post is low. Okay. If I go to talk about something I'm selling, do you think Facebook gives me more kudos there, puts me in front of more people there, or when I'm showing my family and pictures, my family and this kind of stuff? Where do you think they give me more front-facing people? You guys know? It's going to always be through your personal and social stuff because it's a social platform. Facebook isn't a selling platform, although you can sell on Facebook. Does that make sense? That's why we don't put links in our posts. That's why we don't put links in the comments. You used to be able to do that, but you can't do that now. You'll get nothing, no matter how good you are. All right. So once I get them into, I say, meet me in the DMs or check your DMs or I friended you. Remember, because if you're sometimes I get, 3 or 4 people that are new people because my page is on public, like your guys's is. And then guess what? I let them know I add them as a friend because they won't see my message, right? Check your message. So then I get over there. Now here's the process. Hey, Marla, it's Joan. Thanks for the love on my post. That I might text you guys. And then I go into a voice message. And it might be something as simple as, hey, it's so nice to meet you over here. Hope all is going well. I just wanted to see what was it, that interest you most in the post. Or if I did more like, here's my 3-step thing or whatever it is, I'm going to recall back to what they're raising their hand for. Doesn't that just make sense? I start a conversation by finding out more about them. I would maybe begin, let's say I did a collagen post, I might begin saying something like, what was it about the collagen post that spoke to you? And then maybe they'd say something like, oh, I've always had, crickety knees, or, tell me more about that. Get them talking about their problem, because then you have somewhere to go. Now, if it's about the business, and maybe I said, drop whatever, drop freedom, drop whatever it is, drop opportunity, I don't know. But the point I'm trying to make is that I'm going to then say, tell me a little bit about your background and what you're currently doing. Are you with the company right now? So all I'm doing is what? Creating conversation, right? Just conversation. And you guys, I will tell you that this Foursquare that's in your, you guys got it in your, oh, what do you call it? In your back office. This will help you when you're talking to people with questions right here. So please use this. I've had more people in over time, if you follow this in order, even if it's your product, it works for products too, right? It's just a basic guide to the flow of the conversation. And this conversation doesn't have to be on a Zoom or on a telephone. This could be about your product through where? Through Messenger. Okay? But if you want prompts on how to say it and what to talk about, use it. All right? And I use a lot of possibility language to uncover more. So I might say something like, tell me, Marlene, if you were to do a business like this, what kind of money would you want to make? Kim, tell me a little bit more. If you were to do a business like this, how might this impact you and your family? Or what do you want this to do for you and your family? Okay. All right. So now once we're in the DMs having a conversation, to me, if it's about the business, I go into setting the appointment. And that's what we're going to talk about right now, because this is really crucial. And Tanya, the gal that's recruited 7, you know what I asked her last night when we were talking? I said, what do you think it is? She goes, I started setting appointments and doing what you said. I started taking my business to the next level of professionalism. And I said, really? And basically, setting an appointment shows people what? Who knows? What does it do?
Well, I think it shows structure in a calendar and that you're busy.
It does.
You're
It can
treating
show
your business like a business.
Exactly. It shows people that you have got like a business going. It shows structure, like Allison said. I want you to think about this. Would you just run down to your hair salon without an appointment? What would you think if your hairstylist said, you just come anytime? What would you think? I think, shit, she's wide open and has no clients.
Yeah, low demand.
Right? Yeah. But I mean, would you just go to your doctor's office without an appointment? I mean, unless you're going to go to the emergency room or something. But you guys, you see what I mean? You treat it different when you have an appointment, don't you? Don't you? If I could just swing in, I may not go today or tomorrow. But if I have an appointment to meet someone, I'm going to tell you, I treat it different. I don't want to mess with someone else's time either. And you know what? People will respect you for setting it. So, why we set an appointment is many reasons as network marketers, because you ladies are busy. You have lives, you have grandkids, you have children, you have husbands, you have to cook chili tonight or wherever the hell you do. You're busy people. And I don't want to chase people. Who here does not want to chase people? I'm not chasing them down. Okay. So if you set an appointment, the minute you set the appointment, it's out of your brain and you can actually focus on something else. Okay. So it doesn't have to be formal. Like, I'm going to send you a calendar link, choose your time. You could do that, but it doesn't have to be. It can just be something as simple as, hey, I'd love to chat a few minutes, but I have a lot going on, as I'm sure you do too, Kim. And I want to offer you a couple times. First off, do you like morning or afternoon? And Kim, just play with me.
Morning.
Okay, let me look here at my calendar. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, I could either do like an 8 a.m. Pacific, or I could even do, I could do a 10 a.m. Pacific. What's best for you?
Let's do 8.
Okay, 8 a.m. Now, psychologically, people typically choose the second one. Psychologically, Kim did not. Doesn't happen all the time, but most people will choose the second one. Now, if you're dealing with somebody that it's like, they really kind of don't want to commit to giving you a time, do you know what I say? I say, listen, Kim, let's just pencil it in, because I'll tell you something, I don't want to miss you. And this is the God's honest truth, you guys. So some of these tactics that I use are truth. I don't want to miss you. I know, Kim, your time is valuable. And it's also okay to show people boundaries. Marla, you work from home. Let's say the gal's like, you know what? I can talk during the day, but night isn't good for me. And then Marla would come back and maybe say, you know what? I totally get that, Angie. And I do have a lunch break between 12 and 1, or I'd have to do it before work, which would be like 7 a.m. You tell me which one of those times would work for you. Now, I'm just giving an example of how, if you've got a structure, I don't want anyone to freak out. People will work around the options you give them if you give them choices. Okay? You want to make sure that your choices are as urgent as possible. Okay? So let's say that Kim's got someone raising their hand, they drop me, and it's about the business. The worst thing that anybody can do is to let that sit. Because with every hour that you let an interested thing sit online, the rate of return diminishes. Who knows why? You got to be urgent. Who knows why? Sorry, I get kind of harsh about this. I'm not trying to be harsh. How many other things are they looking at?
Yeah, their focus is on you right now, so for you to focus on them.
Yeah,
Otherwise, they might find another leader that has another post and was like,
thank
oh,
you.
this
Thank
person
you.
responded.
Yeah, you guys, they're looking at hundreds of other things to grab their attention. Okay, they also, in between time, let's pretend Marla's my best friend. I call Marla and I'm like, hey, you know what? I saw this opportunity, that I think could be something. And Marla goes, oh my God, is that network marketing thing? Or, oh my gosh, those products? Blah. You know what you should consider? That just happens. And it's not just network marketing. It's anything. Haven't you guys ever saw something online that grabbed your attention, and then all of a sudden the phone rang, or the kid cried, or you're like, "Oh my God, I'm making my eggs," and you go down and you finish, and then you don't go back to it. How many have done that? I do it every single day. So I'm just going over the top and telling you that urgency is your best friend. You want to keep the momentum going. People that know how to keep the momentum going win. That's the God's honest truth. So you want to set times with options. It's always choices. And I want you to notice my word choices. You know what, Angie? I could do 7 a.m. or I could do 9 a.m. What works best for you? Always the word you coming out of my mouth, never the word I. Well, you know what? I've only got a time at 5 p.m. that'll work. In other words, I'm unflexible or something. Okay. I'm working for the person. And if they're a little squeaky about it, you just go, you know what? Let's just pencil it in, Kim. And if for any reason you need to change it, all you got to do is just text me and we'll work it out. But I keep it loose. Let's set up a time to chat. I don't go, let's set an appointment on my calendar. Let's put it in ink. Let's set it in stone. I don't do that. I'm just casual, but I get a time. And you know what else? I can take on a lot more when it's scheduled. And then I also can have a time to sometimes even prepare a little bit if I need to. All right? Okay. Who has any questions about setting a time to chat? Yeah, Kim.
Do you set it for like 30 minutes, 15 minutes?
Very good question. I personally would set it for anywhere for, I would do 30, just allow 30, but tell him, hey, let's have a chat, probably, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. But then if I set it for 30 and it runs over a little bit, then I'm not like crunched into the next time. You guys, there was a time where I would do 15-minute appointments. You can hardly get into it. And then you're the one feeling the pressure. You know what I'm saying? You're feeling the pressure like, oh my God, my next appointment's coming, and you just don't want to feel that way. Okay. All right. What else? Is there a resource? Oh, what are you writing, Megan?
I was answering. I don't know if you answered already. Maybe you did.
Okay. Okay. Let's see here. So you're going to be treating your wrist. Oh, another thing I wanted to share with you guys too is this is something that's really helped me. A lot of times when we hear no's in the recruiting process, we start to really become like affected by them. Like, oh my God, I'm on to 12 no's or whatever it is. And I've been doing a lot of reach out calls lately, and I will tell you the averages are still about the same. When you're out of your warm market, or when you're just in that acquaintance market, it's usually about 80%. So 10% of the people, no, 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 and two of the 10, 20% may raise their hand with interest. But I want you to keep this in mind. The rejection that you're feeling is just redirection. No matter what, it's always redirecting you to the people that will. Does that make sense? So I've learned to love a no. You know what I don't like, you know what I dislike more than a no? Someone that keeps me on the fence. Those fence sitters drive me nuts. I want to just go make a freaking decision. Like, I don't care what it is. I'm not attached to the outcome. But do you know where they mull and mull? Allison, you're laughing. They mull and mull and mull, and then it's like it's this like constant, like right back to where we started. That is more for me, that drives me more crazy than the no. But here's the thing. Guess what I do? I just keep putting them down. So then I say something like, okay, Kim, I can see that you're still, contemplating that. That's an example, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and just move you to, let's see, where do you want to talk this Thursday or Friday? What's best for you? And let me give you a day or two here. Would that work? And then I just move them there, move them there, move them there. And I have had people, I mean, it's interesting, the story, but I will tell you this. If you can keep the momentum going and you stay in step with the person, I often get compliments. Like, Joan, I've never had anybody follow up like you have. How do you remember to follow up with me? Because I use a pen and paper. No. But I mean, what I'm reinforcing with you guys is, guess what? It makes me feel good to know that people recognize that. So it keeps me taking that next action. There's so many people where you get some kind of interest or somebody's raising their hand in the DMs, and then there's hours or even sometimes days that goes by. Have you guys ever had that where you're like trying to get someone's attention and nada, days go by without even an acknowledgement? That's a tough one. All right. So when we pop the question with confidence, I'm going to give you just a question, then I'm going to turn it over to Megan to kind of close out here and wrap up a little bit. This is the question that I ask. It's just a very simple question. There's many ways that you can answer it, okay? But I just say simply, hey, Gina, have you ever thought about doing what I do? Because what is someone going to say? What's someone going to say? They're going to say, well, what is it that you do? And then it gives you an opportunity to say, well, you know what? I help women, blah, 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 blah. Or I help individuals, blah, 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 blah. You make a quick statement, then what do you think they're going to say? Well, tell me more about what it is that you do, you know, or I'd like to know, I'd like a little bit more information around this or that. Okay. So popping the question is simply asking somebody if they're curious, if they'd like to hear just a little bit more. And you can use things like, are you open to hearing more? You know, would you love to discuss the possibilities? Would you like, you know, I'd love to discuss the possibilities if you're open to hearing more. Okay. So notice I use that word possibilities because then they don't feel what? Like they're anchored to me with a ball and chain. I want people to feel light and free to make a decision that's right for them. I'm not like, I'm going to say one last thing. I had someone last night call me, a very experienced marketer. She's a friend of mine. And she was telling me about a particular someone that was following up with her. And she's like, my gosh, it's now gotten to such an annoying place. She's not being respectful of my time. Now, I don't ever want someone to say that to me. In other words, if I say to somebody, no, it's not the right time, you know, I've got multiple projects going on, but I really appreciate the reach out. That's no. You know, if someone kept going back at me, well, wait a minute, you know, you might want to, no, please be respectful of people's time because that draws them closer to you, not further away. Okay. All right, Megs, I'll turn it back over to you. We're right pretty much at the top of the hour, so I know you only had a little bit to share.
Yeah, so I just wanted to showcase you guys um, how many of you may or may not have found the Trello board and the resources, okay, or the bonuses. Some of you may have seen this. So we'll share this resource. This is a content in a year kind of system, okay? And for those of you who want to get really serious about your content for Facebook specifically and static posts, we have examples in here showcasing what types of posts should you do every day of the week, and examples and mini trainings in each tab. So like for instance, the welcome video, there's a welcome video in here, how to use this board. At the top of, oh, see. Here we have, this is a longer video. This, if you guys went through the challenge, you get the engagement post, right? I know everyone here did. But here's more examples like the chili post. Tuesday, Wednesday is the curiosity post. So you'll see some student product curiosity post here. And we've got a little training here. Further in depth from today. You know, Thursday conversation starters, these are around like a mom niche, but again, you can make them your own if you don't have a niche in moms. Friday, we have an example of a business curiosity post in here as well, showcasing, gosh, you guys, like this one had, I think I got like 45 leads from this one post. I mean, I have countless different examples of these. Here's the one I was looking for. I did end up putting it in here. I've been keeping a secret, and that was my hook. Saturday lifestyle post, curiosity, little like seasonal post as well. You guys can take this, make a copy, and then start to put your content in it. The idea is if you create content and you build it up to become this yearly bank, next year you'll be able to repurpose or at least take the post and just modify it and tweak it to make it so easy to do, okay? To share. So let's see here. Sometimes there are issues like people getting into it. Anyone can join as an observer. Okay, here's the link. I'll drop it right here. To join. If you have any issues joining, let us know in the group chat. Sometimes Trello changes its like settings and we have to like make it so someone can do it. But you have to have a Trello account first. It's a free app. Okay. If you are not good with technology, I would encourage don't try to like overdo and do this for yourself yet, but go through it to see the examples and trainings pieces in here at your own pace. This isn't something you need to do today or tomorrow. If you want one thing you could do from today is I would go in here and watch this next step curiosity post training and look at the examples and craft your first, you know, if Joan hadn't said that or not. But I hope that's helpful for you guys that we've created for you to really get strategic, right? Like, I think a lot of people think, oh, I have to repurpose the same thing. Well, yeah, you can sometimes, but sometimes you just saving it means you can repurpose it, just a smallest shift. Like your reel, if you have a high performing reel, go take the same reel copy, same headline, same text on screen, and just do another video, like background B-roll, and republish it. It takes you 5 seconds, okay, a minute, but you know, to do that and see how that performs. Okay. People do not like notice that you're like, nobody here is like, I'm watching every single reel that you post 25 times a day, right? So that's important to know. All right.
All
Any
right.
questions on the phone? Go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. No, no, no. I was just going to say, I'm going to give you guys some homework. Okay. So the first bit of homework is to pop the question, and I want you guys to pop the question 5 times this week. So between now and the next time we meet, you're going to pop the question to 5 people, whether it's through direct messaging, but the next piece of the homework is to create a curiosity post. And I know this is going to stretch you guys, but I want you to create a curiosity post around the business. Okay? And Megan, there's examples in there too, isn't there, of business posts?
Yeah, it would be like the Friday. Instead of the Wednesday curiosity post is the product, and then the Friday is the business.
Yeah. Okay. So another thing you can do, and I want to give you guys this real quick, is you can take a post, you can copy someone's post out in Facebook land or whatever, and you can say to Chat GPT, make this mine and give me 5 different hooks, you know, and position me as an expert marketer, something like that. And it'll spit you out some hooks and then you'll find what might work best for you, you know? You can also do that with calls to action. You can also take your stories. You guys, you had homework with your story. You can take your story about, remember why you joined the company you joined, and turn that into a recruiting post or a business post. And you can say, you know, I want an expert hook with a soft call to action. Okay. And the one thing, you guys, make sure you get out there and engage for that 10 minutes, you know, being the giver first, and then you do your post and whatnot. Okay. So again, the first bit of homework is to pop the question, and I'm going to write this in the chat too, in the DRA chat. So you're going to pop the question to 5 people. You're going to create this week a business curiosity post. And then number 3 is to review the Trello board. Okay. All right, you guys, how does that feel? How's everything feeling over there? Did you get some good info? What are some of the takeaways real quick?
All right, this is Marlene.
Yeah.
So one of my takeaways is that the fight and flight and the fear that sitting in my solar plexus, you've expanded it. Thank you very much. Knowing that I like to turn them into butterflies, right? Instead of it being that to expand. The other day I had a prompt in my belly and I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then instead of sitting with ego, I sat with Angel Joan on my shoulder and I was like, well, what would Joan do? And
Yeah.
so, yes, that is my takeaway is, okay, what would Joan do? And you
Yeah.
know, why am I in
Oops. Oh, she probably didn't mean to do that. All right. Any other takeaways that you found helpful that you want to share? All right, I know we're over time, you guys, so have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday. We are not meeting this Friday, but we will be back next Wednesday, and we're going to be talking next Wednesday about presenting your opportunity and overcoming objections. If any of you have any questions or you need to chat one-on-one, you just feel free to reach out as well. Okay? All right, you guys have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.